Coming up, a big win on election night for Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney, while change is coming to the Fargo School Board. A political newcomer claims a seat on the Fargo City Commission, what Denise Kolpack wants to focus on. And a California murder suspect is arrested in the Red River Valley. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. We begin with a look at tonight's headlines, then a closer look, with comments tonight from Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney talking about his convincing election night win and his vision for his final term. And in tonight's one-on-one conversation, a win for a former Fargo police officer who was fired last December. But first tonight, results are in for the June 2022 election here in Fargo. Mayor Tim Mahoney won in a landslide over challengers Commissioner Arlette Preston, State House Member Shannon Roars-Jones, and local businessman Hakun DeBar. Denise Kolpack and Dave Pepcorn won the pair of open City Commission seats, while incumbents Joe Deutsch and Vicki Dawson joined Fargo Brewing Company owner Aaron Hill as the winners for the Fargo Park Board. In the race for Fargo School Board, 4 of the 5 candidates endorsed by the Fargo Teachers Union claimed victories. The winners include Melissa Birkland, Katie Christensen, Greg Clark, and Naimel Day. Only one incumbent, Robin Nelson, was reelected to the board. In West Fargo, 3 of the 4 incumbents on the school board were reelected, including Jim Jonas, Jessica Jackson, and John Erickson. Newcomer Jessica Jones finished second overall in the voting. Meanwhile, the North Dakota Secretary of State's office reports just under 16% of eligible voters turned out for yesterday's primary election. More than 105,000 ballots were cast, and the state has more than 671,000 eligible voters. Adams County had the highest percentage of voter turnout, with a little more than 50% of eligible voters casting ballots. Incumbent John Hoeven and Democratic NPL candidate Katrina Christensen will face off for a North Dakota U.S. Senate seat come November. Republican Hoeven sailed past challenger Riley Kuntz in yesterday's primary, winning nearly 78% of the vote. Christensen defeated Democratic NPL opponent Michael Steele by a wide margin. Cass County election officials say delays in reporting unofficial election results were due to the large number of contests that were being decided. Officials cite North Dakota Century Code, which requires poll workers to generate total reports from all machines available, which we're told took up to 2 hours to complete and print. Election officials say they're working to make the process smoother ahead of the 2022 general election coming in November. Newly elected Fargo City Commissioner Denise Kolpack says developer incentives, despite some pushback from her opponents in the election, are a vital tool in keeping the city moving forward.
I sat down with a lot of developers and builders and had this conversation as well as every city department and did my homework. Incentives have been very successful for Fargo. Here's one example. The Renaissance Zone has increased net property value downtown by $550 million, which eventually will be giving property tax back to the city of Fargo.
Kolpack says key issues she wants to focus on after being sworn in on the City Commission include the Core Neighborhood Program, the Flood Diversion Project, and public safety. North Dakota Attorney General candidates Drew Wrigley and Timothy Lamb will face off in the general election. Wrigley, a Republican, and the Democrat Lamb both ran unopposed in yesterday's primary, with each race generating a small number of write-in votes. Wrigley was appointed to fill out the term of former Attorney General Wayne Stenjum following Stenjum's death back in January. In other news tonight, a California murder suspect has been arrested in Horace. The Cass County Sheriff's Office says 25-year-old Kira Connerly Burton of Bakersfield was arrested on a felony murder warrant. Officers from the Metro Area Street Crimes Unit, Cass County Drug Task Force, and Cass County deputies arrested Burton around 3:45 yesterday afternoon. He's awaiting an extradition hearing. Well, you might want to stay in the shade and keep a cool beverage handy this coming weekend when temperatures could exceed 100 degrees across the region. Temperatures have spiked as high as 110 degrees in central and western Nebraska. And that's the kind of sizzling weather that will soon reach the Red River Valley. We're told humidity should be in the moderate range. The good news is the heat should break by sometime Monday night. The winning streak on Jeopardy is over for Minneapolis meteorologist Eric Ahazic. Ahazic won 6 straight games before losing the match that aired yesterday. He won more than $160,000 and says he'll use some of the money to help pay for his upcoming wedding. Ahazic had been trying to get on Jeopardy for the past 16 years. In a closer look tonight, Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney, fresh off his re-election win last night, says he's happy with the support he's received, but hopes to see numbers at the polls rise in coming elections.
Very excited, very pleased with that. It means the people are out there voting, like what I'm doing, and like the record of what I've been on. I'm always a little bit careful about mandated city of 125,000 when our voting turnouts are so small. But of the people that care and want to go out and vote, it is helpful to do that. It gives you ability then to make some changes in the community and do some things you may have to do, knowing that the public is supporting you.
Mayor Mahoney took home more than 40% of the vote in Tuesday's election, defeating City Commissioner Arlette Preston, State House member Shannon Roars-Jones, and local businessman Hakun DeBar. They were among the 6 challengers vying for the mayor's seat. Mahoney also took time to talk about his new working partner on the City Commission.
I think Denise Kolpack was a good candidate. She came to the city offices and worked and talked to all my department heads. We had many good visits about where her thoughts would be and where she wants to go. Dave Pepcorn, of course, however, we worked with him. And so I'm excited to see how Denise will turn out and how she'll be as a future commissioner.
He will enter his final term as mayor and his final term as part of the Fargo City Commission. He says dealing with housing issues and leading Fargo through the FM diversion project will be 2 of his priorities during his last term. Well, we hope you find the Nightly Review a great source of news and information for all that is happening in the FM Metro. Please support our efforts by subscribing and hitting the bell button below. Weather-wise, a pretty nice day for us to enjoy across the valley, but as mentioned, a warm-up is on the way. Meteorologist Justin Storm has the forecast from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Thanks, Tom. As we head through the rest of this evening into the early overnight hours, we'll have a slight chance for a few light scattered rain showers. Otherwise, through the rest of tonight after midnight, we'll see skies returning to partly cloudy conditions and temperatures not too bad. Low humidity, upper 50s to lower 60s for lows, with a wind out of the southwest 15 to 30 miles per hour. It does unfortunately remain windy on your Thursday, but we'll have plenty of sun with partly cloudy skies, a slight chance for a light isolated sprinkle in the afternoon with highs in the mid-70s. And for your Friday, mostly sunny conditions return. The wind will lighten up. We'll see the humidity creeping up just a bit, but not too bad out there with highs in the mid-80s.
It could happen to you or someone you love. One moment, one diagnosis can change everything. Thankfully, there's a program that helps caring people uplift families through a crisis. Lend a Hand Up, raising financial help and hope through community benefits and online campaigns. A program that boosts generosity so gifts go further. Lend a Hand Up helps you help your neighbors. Learn more and give at lendahandup.org.
Welcome back to the Nightly Review. My guest for the one-on-one conversation tonight is former Fargo police officer Justin Natchatilo, who has just prevailed in his appeal to the City Commission. The 19-year veteran was fired last December for what the police chief said was performance-related issues. But now, Natchatilo will be allowed to resign retroactively. The former officer provides an overview of what happened.
I guess a quick synopsis would be the fall of 2020, I had a leave of absence from the department due to difficulties I was having with my work performance. I'm a combat veteran, and I'm diagnosed with PTSD, and I was able to attend some inpatient treatment out of state for several weeks. Came back, I was, at the time I was in a detective position, and I was involuntarily removed from that position and put back in the patrol division. After several weeks working there, it was evident to me that my issues, had not resolved themselves entirely, and I started having difficulty. However, at the time I was put in that position, the new chief of police had made it clear through a memo to me that any further issues with my work performance would be handled with a complaint, basically, that it wasn't going to be treated as a mental health issue, that it was going to be treated strictly as a work performance issue. As a consequence of that, I didn't feel in any way comfortable bringing my feelings as far as my work-life balance and how my symptoms were affecting my work to anyone at the department. And there was a couple of incidents that happened concerning the accidental disposal of an item that I requested as evidence, which was a soda can, and then also having to deal with an incident where there was a report of some missing juveniles. Basically, I was brought up on complaints for those two incidents, and it ultimately resulted in my termination from the department.
So you asserted that your termination was not handled according to policy, and you say it was politically motivated. And you also say this whole appeal was about defending your professional reputation. Can you elaborate on those points?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout the complaint process, the individual that was charged with conducting the investigation, there was no mention all throughout his investigation that I was being alleged to have committed any serious offenses that I would consider in keeping with someone that was being terminated. And then when the investigation was turned over to the chief, I had my first what's called a predetermination hearing, and the chief went down a list of charges, and they were numerous, and just kind of came out of left field. Wasn't expecting them. He charged me with making false statements. I think it was like 3 different occasions, and then indicated I was going to be terminated. And that was the first I had heard of that I was being accused of making false statements. And so there was a 3-day period between that day and then the day that I was officially terminated, where I could have probably resigned from the department. But I knew that I hadn't done anything to justify being terminated. And I knew that the entire process was not conducted in good faith. There was a lot of due process issues and just fundamental fairness issues that were pretty glaring to me. And the whole thing really stank, And so I didn't feel right about just, trying to save myself and just walking away without having any of the stuff brought to light. So I decided then that I was gonna fight it and basically make the chief fire me, and then fight it from there.
Well, I'd like to thank former Fargo police officer Justin Natchatilo for joining me for tonight's one-on-one conversation. The former officer says his PTSD and his experience with the police department have now prompted department administration to place more of a focus on officer mental health. Well, that will do it for this Wednesday night, June 15th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review.